Hello, ninth graders. Find the page in your notebook and the outline of the human body, either female or male. And I need you to label the many functions of proteins as I read through this article. As I go along, I will point out that there are some phrases that are highlighted. And they're highlighted to help you label and describe. Do not put any kind of one or two words in these boxes. I need you to describe in detail what the particular protein is doing in that area. Also, I need you to feel free to add boxes. I did put some on there, but feel free to add more than I have, because remember, for a notebook check, you are graded on your input and your effort and your creativity and your effort in trying to impress me with your information on the right side of your notebook. So let's get started. The many functions of proteins. Energy source is one of the first one. Proteins are a source of energy like carbohydrates and fats. Equal weights of carbs and proteins provide the same amount of energy in calories. When we eat proteins-rich food, they are broken down into their constituents or monomers, and these are called amino acids, and they are broken down by enzymes. Our bodies are incapable, that means are not capable of storing proteins in that same form. So an extra intake will result in converting the proteins into fat, that's for storage, or for energy, which is for consumption. These are then used by our cells for the fuel for building new muscles, there's an italicized phrase, and cartilages, and repairing any damaged tissue or cell. There are various plant sources that we get our proteins from: seeds, beans, soybeans or soy, and animal sources like meat, fish, and poultry of protein that are a part of our diet. The protein named casein is going to supply the body with the nutrition required to build and develop bones and encase muscles. In plants, they have proteins too. They play a vital role in seed germination, that means the sprouting of seeds. The stored protein acts as a source of nitrogen for the growing embryo, supplying it with the necessary energy. Okay, next function of protein is structural support to a living cell. One of the most important functions of proteins is to provide structural identity to living organisms. A fibrous protein called collagen is going to provide strength, firmness, and structure to the body cells and tissues. And with this, it's going to hold them together in place. Without the presence of collagen, cells will not be able to hold together, and tissues and organs would collapse. Connective tissues like the adipose tissue, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments are all composed of this protein called collagen. Here's another name of protein called keratin. Keratin forms the protective barrier for most living beings. It makes up, here's an italicized phrase, the outermost layer of our body, which is our skin, the nails, and hair. In other animals, it helps in developing horns, fur, scales on fish, while in birds, it helps to develop beaks, feathers, and claws. All right, so you can hit pause at any time to label different parts of the body. Okay, next function for proteins, they're transporters. Proteins, according to the fluid mosaic model, our cell membrane, which allows what goes in and out of our cell, are made up of two things, proteins and lipids. There are some globular proteins and transmembrane proteins that help in regulating the flow of ions and molecules like sodium and glucose through the cell, especially in our lungs, and this also happens in our brain. The transport of some molecules occur through the process of diffusion, and you'll learn about diffusion a little bit later. Transmembrane proteins extend on either side of the cell membrane, and they act as a regulator molecule by allowing or denying the entries of ions and molecules. Globular proteins act as carriers by binding to the molecules, facilitating, that means helping, its transportation into the cell membrane. Once they're in, these proteins will detach or break loose from the molecules. Another protein in our body that helps in transportation is called transferrin. Transferrin is an example of a transport protein. It carries iron. Iron is important in our immune system. For the immune system, just pick an area like the nose, or we get infections in our throat, we get infections in our sinuses, which is around our nose again. So pick any part of the body that you know an infection can occur, like in our stomach because of viruses. So we can get infections anywhere, and this protein helps to fight it. And another important transport protein, like transferrin, is one that everybody should know, which is called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is in our body. We have RBCs that are known as red blood cells. The main function of these cells is to transport oxygen from the lungs to the body's cells. Well, these red blood cells contain that protein called hemoglobin, and they carry oxygen all over our body. And once the oxygen is in oxygen is in the capillaries is going to be released to be used by your cells. So pick any area of the body. Hemoglobin is moving throughout the entire body from head to toe. All right, next, proteins are something or act as biological catalysts. Enzymes are proteinaceous in nature. Remember, we capitalize that word. It's going to be the next main focus for the next couple of days after we finish our macromolecules chart. They help in catalyzing. Catalyzing means to increase the rate of a reaction. Various important chemical processes like glycolysis. And glycolysis is the one that happens in your stomach, especially after you eat your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it happens in your intestines. So you can label that area. These enzymes, they make this reaction happen by lowering the minimum energy required to carry out a biochemical process. And that energy is called activation energy. Each enzyme is going to bind to only a specific substrate or substance and increase the rate of conversion of that substance into another product. These products are then readily used by the living body to maintain normal growth and development. For example, there's an enzyme, hexokinase. It's going to act on glucose, which is a substrate. It's going to happen in the liver, and it's going to give a series of products that are acted on by various enzyme releasing ATP molecules for your cell's metabolism. Okay, next function of protein is hormones, and this is regulating chemical processes. Hormones are proteins that function as a chemical messenger. They act on their target cells, tissues, and organs. They bind to a specific receptor present on the surface of the target. Once attached, they lead to a cascade of signaling responses. These responses are essential for an individual's physical and mental wellness. Mental wellness, that's again your brain area. Your heart is your physical wellness. Your lungs is your physical wellness. Your muscles are your physical wellness all over your body. Plants, which are living things as well, also have hormones. They're called phytohormones. An example of a human hormone is the growth hormones. As the name suggests, when this hormone is secreted from the brain, it helps the overall growth of the living body. It helps make your bones long and strong. Another example of another protein that acts as a hormone is insulin, and it's secreted by your pancreas. And this is released in the blood and regulates its sugar levels. Now, if you're really wanting to impress me, why don't you draw a liver outline in your human body, or you can draw a pancreas. You can use your device to find them. You can draw the stomach. You can draw the brain. You can draw eyes. I mean, add everything that you can to make sure you make a good grade on your next notebook check. And not only for grade, but it's just important that you learn how important proteins are in every part of your body. All right, the last little section we got to read about is that proteins are soldiers of our immune system. The immune system helps in defending and protecting your body against disease-causing microbes, like contaminants and other foreign bodies. Most immune responses are carried out by proteins. For example, our own little medicine called antibodies are produced by B cells of the immune system. They are highly specific for a particular antigen, meaning they can fight one specific type of bacteria or virus. These antibodies help in erasing or eradicating and neutralizing harmful pathogens. Also, the complement system of our immune system has a number of small protein molecules. These proteins, like C3, C9, get activated in a stepwise fashion, creating pores on the cell membranes of the target bacteria or viruses. And that means they're going to target the the pathogen, and just destroy it. And once they attach to the cell membrane, this leads to the membrane to rupture, which is break apart, and then it will ultimately lyse and die. In case of an injury, fibrinogen, which is the name of another protein in our blood, forms fibrin, And fibrin will literally seal off, that's like a little scab, off the wound and does not permit any entry of any foreign infection. So when you cut yourself, it's making sure that nothing else comes in to help make your infection worse or your cut worse. All right, next, buffering action. Remember, we learned about pH. We know that the blood acts as a medium of transportation in human and animal bodies. That means blood is transporting everything. It supplies vital nutrients like oxygen, hormones, antibodies to our various organs. However, it maintains a steady pH for carrying out its function properly. This pH is maintained by a protein buffering system. You can point to any part of the body and point to a main artery like carotid, or you can point to the main artery in the leg, wherever you like, along with a bicarbonate and a phosphate buffering system. The proteins have amino groups and carboxyl groups, making them capable of donating and accepting hydrogen ions. Remember, we learned about hydrogen ions being in acids. Hence, when our body becomes too acidic or basic, they accept or donate hydrogen ions, and this will make sure that our body stays, or our blood stays, at a neutral pH of 7. All right, this is ending the article. We have tried to summarize the significance of proteins in a very short little article. However, there are millions of proteins in our system. They work in tandem. That means they work together with other biomolecules to keep life. Hence, a person should have appropriate intake of protein in his or her diet. This will ensure proper growth and development, both mental and physical. Is it important to understand the deficiency of protein can lead to various diseases like kwashiorkor, Merriam's, and cachexia, etc. These have high mortality rates and should be dealt with immediately. The amino acids are vital for the replacement of what the human anatomy is not capable of doing itself. So, lack of proteins can lead to very serious illnesses. And we're so blessed here in America that we hardly ever have this problem, but there are a lot of people in different countries who do. All right, thank you, and finish labeling your diagram.